Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to a Chart Nerd Technical Analysis video. Today we will be discussing the likes of Gala. The ticker is GALA against USDT on the weekly time frame. So let's dive in. So looking at Gala here, I do have the MFI indicator on. This is the money flow index, and we use it very similarly to the RSI. And I've got a few things on the charts here. So I've got this descending resistance right here. I've got this sort of very interesting zone of resistance and support where it's had multiple points of contact, and we have this key support zone right now, as well as this triangle and a few other deviation points. So let me basically explain what's going on. Since the breakdown and all-time highs back in November of 2021, we did see some really bad drastic price action, and we actually came back and lost the previous all-time low of September 2021 in December of 2022. So as quick as this thing went up, as quick as it came down again, and we at this point formed a foundational bottom. Now we did have a rally up here, but this was very short-lived, and we had this 5-wave correction. Let me get this on for you. With a wave 1, a wave 2, a wave 3, a wave 4, and a wave 5, and this was a 5-wave move before a massive breakout up into this previous level of support that was now met as resistance, and equally we ran into the descending resistance on this trend line. So this is what created this huge level of resistance for Gala at 0.08, and since then it's been very hard to break out of. Now what I wanted to point out was from this region we have again had this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-wave move, and what you'll notice is on both of these 5-wave corrections that Gala went through, if we look at where we entered, so on the 5th wave we had this deviation point below the previous low that is currently where we're sort of holding around now. We had a deviation point below it, and on this 5-wave correction as of recent in August, we also had a deviation point between below this key support zone. So has this just been a rinse repeat correction here of what we went through back in September to October of 2023? You'll see here that September, October is where last year Gala actually bottomed out and rallied back up to this 0.08 region. And again, from this point, which was a strong level of resistance in the past, it ran just shy of this move. We've had a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-wave correction, and we deviated below the key support zone. So we've done everything that we did in the previous cycles here, and we deviated below this zone, and right now we're sort of working our way up and coiling up, and we're caught in this sort of symmetrical triangle looking for a breakout to the upside to retest this descending resistance and potentially run up to previous this was a very strong area of support before. You know, we've had the breakdown, came back to key support, and now we're looking for the push up into descending resistance and back up to this previous level of support at around 0.04. So if we do see any sort of breakout and continuation here onwards for Gala, I think that's the next sort of target zone for me, and maybe a little bit less. I mean 0.035 to 4, because you do have this previous high here which equally could be a level of resistance. So around that sort of zone, I think, is the sort of area we need to break out of in order to see a continuation back up to these local highs. But once we do break this descending resistance, and if it does break this descending resistance that it's had on its head for a couple of years, I think it's fireworks for Gala. I really do. And right now all that's going on is this huge accumulation zone that Gala's been in for multi-years, and it's just been hanging around here since August of 2022. And you'll notice that although the lows are relatively separate and there is some sort of deviation, you've got a low, another low, and another low right here. You've got some sort of triple bottom. Some may even call it a humongous macro inverse head and shoulders. It all depends how you look at it, because you've got the left shoulder here potentially, then you've got the head, and this is a shoulder here, and then you've got this shoulder here, and as that builds up over time, if you do start expanding and breaking out of this descending resistance and you're looking to push on, I think at least back to the all-time highs, and that's a conservative target of mine. So I'll give you a max euphoria sort of zone in a second of where I think this thing could break out to. But if we look at the MFI, and let me focus on this indicator right now. If we look at the MFI on previous price action for Gala, so if we go back to the previous highs and you look down here at the MFI, this was the top. We had this correction all the way back down to the over sold zones, and at this point this was where we came down and confirmed this previous support as resistance. So this low was actually a resistance point, and then we continued to rally up and we created the resistance on the money flow index. We then came back down and eventually got the breakout. Now when we did come back down to this low, this was the confirmational low, and we had a bullish divergence. So we had lower lows in the price action, but we had higher lows in the MFI. So this was indicating a hidden bullish divergence, and at that point this is where the structural foundational low formed for Gala, and it had this rally up into that 5-wave correction, which brought us back down to support. Now what you'll notice is when we had the rally up, this is when we broke the descending resistance on the MFI, and we put in the local top when we got to the overbought zone. At this point we then started correcting in a falling wedge back down to the lows on the MFI. If you look at the price, this is where we had the 5-wave correction back down to the lows of the key support zone. Down here in the MFI, you then got the breakout on the resistance, which led to the pump. Now, if you look at the price action, this is where we got the pump, and we ran into this descending resistance, which is now the key area to break out of, along with these local highs at 0.082. So from this pump now, what we've had again is some sort of corrective downtrend on the MFI. As of recent, we've been in the floor again, and this was not even this low. In fact, this is where we created another bullish divergence, and we eventually are looking to break out once again. And the next interesting point to sell for me would be when the MFI is in the overbought zones up above 80, and I think the price is just lagging behind and looking to sort of catch up here and at least retrace back to this key level of resistance for Gala in the near future. And if it does break out, so just to go off the MFI indicator here, so it's a key level of resistance that's been broken out of. Every time it's done this in the past, it has seen a rally. You'll see here rally. Once it broke out the resistance here, it had a rally, even bigger, a bigger rally, and now we've broken resistance here. Are we going to get an even bigger rally for Gala in the near future? So it's just an indicator to use, something to keep an eye on. The MFI, you can get it into your charts by going to indicators and typing in MFI, and it's the first one that comes up, money flow index, and it will get it onto your charts for you. Now let me get this off for now and have a little bit of I wanted to have a little bit more of a zoomed in look at Gala here and check something out. So if I just get all trend lines off for the moment, I think potentially we could have some sort of head and shoulders on this low formation here, where we're building some sort of higher level of support. So you can see we're sort of caught between a rock and a hard place here, and we're sort of coiling up between support and resistance, and I think a break will come eventually for Gala. But you'll notice you've got some sort of left shoulder into resistance, you've got this head which is built on ascending support, we've ran into resistance, and right now it looks like we could potentially be trying to form this right shoulder here. So it's all very dependent, I think, on where support could be. So just for an example, we've got the left shoulder, this is the head right here, and potentially we're coming in to this right shoulder. I'm going to look for a key level of support very shortly, but this is a potential inverse head and shoulders, and this could really kickstart the move here, because if we do get a breakout along the line somewhere, then we are looking to start the retracement back up again to this local high that we need to break out of, this key resistance from the 5-wave correction that we've just been analyzing. So you'll see that the left shoulder right here could be that wave 3, and then this is the wave 4 into resistance for the inverse head and shoulders, and then you've got your wave 5. So this wave 5 corrective move could be playing into an inverse head and shoulders. It all depends on holding support on this pullback that we're going through this week for Gala. So where could we find support for this to be valid? And if we do get the breakout, I think that offers from current price, this is another 100% impulsive move for Gala. But for it to be valid, I'll just have a little bit more of a zoom in. We need to go from the local high that we're rejecting from back down to where the head formed, and that is terrible. I've got no support levels on here. Give me 1 second, guys. We're going to get the 050 and the 0618, and we're going to turn them to green because this is an area of support. So green's where you want to bounce, so it's a good area. And I think, yeah, there we go. So right shoulder support, I think, could come as low as 0.017. Now, if Gala does start to do that, and we've got the left shoulder, the head, and right now we're in this formation of the right shoulder, come back to 0.017 over the next couple of weeks going into November, then look for the large breakout. That's what could validate this move for Gala. So that's something to keep our eyes on. Coming back down to previous support on this shoulder here, you can see it's a very strong level of support, and that's an absolutely terrible line. I don't know why I just don't get a trend line and stick it on the chart. You'll see here that we've had multiple points of contact on this trend line previously. So it was support here, and then it was, we broke out, faded that, came back down. We had it as resistance for a couple of weeks. We've broke out, and now we're holding it again as support. We've broke out, but ran into the same level of resistance, and now we're pulling back again to support. So this area is very, very interesting. This zone here at 0.018. Because we've come up, we've run into resistance. As long as we can hold that, and again, this would build the shoulder up as support, break the resistance, then I think it's go time up to those targets for that 100% move I gave you not so long ago. Now, sorry to drag this on, guys. I just wanted to show you one more thing before I go. So my conservative target for this cycle for Gala, once it starts getting back above descending resistance and reclaiming key resistance levels like this 0.08 high, I think it will start pushing on towards its all-time high, and that's a conservative target. So from current prices back to the all-time high for me, I think gaming is going to be an absolute massive narrative this cycle. It would be a 37x back to its all-time high, and if it does push on, this is the max euphoria stage for me, the 1272 fib extension for Gala, and this is 110x, guys. This bad boy does not play games. It has had a drastic correction over the past couple of years, alongside majority of the market. It's been sustaining momentum. It's had pumps, it's had dumps, but it's in accumulation and caught between a key range of resistance at 0.08 and a key level of support down in the 0.013 region. So right now we're caught between a rock and a hard place. We're coiling up in this sort of triangle here, looking for a breakout. If it does break to the downside, look for a retest on this key support zone that's been holding since December of 2022. And if it does break out, you've got descending resistance above to tackle through, and equally this resistance level of the accumulation zone moving forward. I hope you enjoyed the content today, guys. From Chart Nerd TA, take care. Peace out.